Hi there, Nigel Saunders for Cedar Bonsai. Today we've got probably a long video. What we're going to do today is I'm going to take my eastern white cedar and my little ones that I've collected over the years, and we're going to make a forest planting of them. So this is going to be the tallest tree in the forest. It looks like an old western red cedar that you'd find out in British Columbia. And the rest of the little cedars I have are going to be smaller trees in the forest. So these trees aren't very refined at the moment, but as they gain health, we're going to work on them to miniaturize them and kind of match the main tree in as far as, you know, fine foliage and style. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get the main tree out of this pot and get it in my plastic seed tray, which I've melted about 200 holes in the bottom for drainage. And so it's just a, you know, flexible nursery seed tray. So that's going to be our pot we're going to put our forest planting in. So before we start repotting the main tree first, we're just going to have a quick look at the root base of cedars, old cedars, and have a look at see what they're like. It's sort of our goal to sort out the roots in this tree so we get that nice radial root spread that you'll see in the old cedars. So let's get started. First thing we're going to do is we're going to fill our tray with bonsai soil. And it's a basic soil mix. I haven't put any special ingredients in it or anything. We may top dress it with some finer soil, but we'll see. Cedars like lots of water, so they like lots of water and lots of drainage, so it's kind of, you've got to water them a lot. They don't like sitting in stagnant water. So we've got a nice base layer of good draining bonsai soil on the bottom. Next is we're going to get our cedar out of the pot. The moss that's on top here, we'll probably save it because we may use it for our forest later on. It's a little brown right now. We've had some really dry sunny days lately. I've been watering the moss lots, but just because it's in the full sun and it dries out quickly, it's a little brown right now, but it'll green up again. Okay, so we'll take our tray away and we'll start repotting the cedar. Okay, so here goes the repotting. A lot of people ask me when is the best time to repot a cedar. And if you look on the internet, it tells you from April to May, which is quite a time frame. The people I've been talking to, they say the best time to repot is when your new growth starts to extend. So it means the vigor is going from the roots up to the top of the tree, and you can repot then. So our new growth is beginning to extend and turn green on the tips. So it should be a good time to repot the tree. So here we go. This tree has been in this pot for 2 years. So I'm not really sure what to expect with the roots on it. The tree's been growing well, but we've been keeping it fairly pruned on top, so I don't expect the roots to be too wild. So we'll see. So let's lift it out. There we are. and we'll look at the roots. So yeah, they're not too wild. They're looks like a good time to repot. So let's take our pot away, and we'll start removing the moss for starters. If I can get it off, there we go. This layer of moss just grew on it naturally. Here comes the sun. And it's a little thick right now, but I think we can scrape the backside of it and get it to a nice thin layer for our forest. Okay, so I'll take the moss away and then we'll start raking the roots. Okay, so we're going to start on the top again and rake outwards from the trunk. So we're after a radial root base, so we get that nice flared transition from the soil to the trunk. And if you don't work on the roots, you won't get that nice miniature look to the base of the tree. You'll get coarse roots. They won't be going in a good direction. They won't be sort of evenly distributed around the trunk of the tree. So to get a good root base takes a lot of work. This tree is probably being repotted I would say probably 5 or 6 times now. So you'll see the difference in the roots from this tree versus some of the ones that are freshly collected. They'll be quite different, and not different in a good way. So we've got most of the surface roots combed out now, so we're going to flip the tree over and start on the bottom. There's a drainage screen we'll take out, another one here, and again we'll start from the center of the tree and rake outwards. So if we do tear roots, we're only tearing our crossing roots, not our radial roots. Give the tree a shake. So we're after a flat root base on the bottom, and the top of the root base you want it to slope gently into the soil. Okay, so the next step is I'm going to wash the roots so we can clearly see what's going on with them, and then we'll start root pruning. Okay, I've got the roots washed, and the next step is to comb them out. So we get them in a nice radial pattern, get rid of all the tangled roots. And you can see the roots are long, but they're not too bad. And that's because we do fairly frequent repotting, which keeps our roots in a nice, in order. So I'm just untangling some of these surface roots here, and that'll do. You can see on the back side of the tree, which is here, we've kind of got an undercut of the curve of the trunk. How do you describe that? The trunk kind of curves in a bit, and then we've got our radial roots coming out. So that's something we've just got to leave these roots grow, thicken up this section of the root base so it blends in with the soil better, so it has that transition coming down the trunk and smoothly going into the soil. So we're going to give the roots a light pruning. We're going to go around get rid of all these excessively long roots. We're not going to be too severe with our root pruning, but just trim off the, you know, the really long ones. That looks pretty good. And the last thing we're going to do is we're going to trim the roots on the bottom of the tree. We want all these radial roots thickening the tree trunk up, and we don't want these roots on the bottom growing straight down. We want it nice and flat on the bottom. I think that'll do for the bottom. Take away our roots. Comb it out again. One more long one to get rid of here. There we go. Okay, so the tree is ready for planting in the pot. We could prune off this one root. I think it's a dead root that's a little high. And I think I'll get rid of that one here. It's a little high also. Yeah, the rest look pretty good. So that's ready to put in our pot now. So let's do that next. Okay, so here we go. This has always been the front of the tree, and the reason is it hides that bad root system at the back of the tree, and it's kind of been designed as this being the front for now. So we're going to keep that as the front of the tree. I'm going to rotate it slightly based on the roots. So instead of being kind of right there, I'm going to rotate it slightly. And when we put the tree in the pot, we don't want the main tree on center. We want it off center a bit to make a nice composition. And most of the foliage on this tree is on the outside, or on this side of the tree. So we want that to the outside of our forest. And then we'll have our other trees on this side. So it basically means the tree has to go to this side of the pot. This is going to be the front, and based on our roots we can move it to the front of the composition a bit, which we'll do. And then we've got to get a height for the tree, so we want some of these roots exposed. So I'm thinking right about here in the pot. It gives us room for a few small trees on this side. We're not right on center. We're towards the front of the pot. And the height, we could come up a little higher. So I'm just going to put a mound of soil underneath it. Take out some of my big chunks here. And we're going to get our roots on top. And we'll just rotate the tree until we get a nice planting height. So we're still a little high. Height's not too bad there. I'm kind of happy with it. We want to give our surface roots a final comb out. Make sure they're all still going in a radial pattern. sure our tree's straight. And we're going to start putting some bonsai soil around the roots. And we'll work it into the roots to hold the tree in place. I'm going to rotate it just a little bit more back. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. I'll just zoom out to show you that. Yeah, I think that'll do as a planting of our first tree. Before we start planting our next trees, we're going to give the main tree a water, make sure the roots stay moist while we're working on the other trees. So I'll give you a shot of the trees I have to choose from now. So these are all my little cedars I've collected in the last couple of years. The ones in the plastic bags are the ones that I collected on our collection trip this year. And I just didn't get time to put them in training pots or anything, so they're going to go straight into the forest planting. And I have a few little ones from last year that are kind of recovering. Not doing really well, but I think when they get into some better soil, we'll get them growing well. So the next thing is I've got to pick my next tree. So I want trees with fairly straight trunks, and we're just going to go look. I found a picture on the internet of western red cedars, and it shows their different the different look of the tree as it gets older. So we're going to have a look at that first, and we'll be back. So we're going to start with our straightest trees first, and they're going to go closest to the main tree. And then as we get to the outside of the forest, some of the ones with the curves in that will be on the perimeter of the forest. So in a forest, all the trees in the heart of the forest grow pretty well straight up as they compete for light. The ones on the edges of the forest, they can grow a little outwards towards the sun. So that's what we'll do. We'll start with the straight trees first. So we're going to start with this tree. It's got a nice straight trunk. There's another one beside it that has a straight trunk. So we're just going to get it out of this soil it's in, which is quite a sandy soil. So we'll come back when I've got this tree out of this soil and it's ready for planting, and we'll see what kind of root system it has. Okay, so I've got these two trees out of their soil, and you can see the root system's not ideal, but we'll do a little bit of work to it and plant them, and we'll just have to wait till they grow more roots. So we'll start with this one. We're just going to prune off this downward facing root here. Just trim a few of these back, and that'll be about it for now. Our next tree, we've got kind of a thick taproot coming down. I think we've just got to take that off. And see what happens. If they don't survive, we'll replace them with other trees. So next we want to arrange these. We don't want them too close to this tree. I'm thinking maybe back here. We've got to give each tree its own spot of light. And we will pick a front for the tree based on what few branches we have. I'll just take that dead one off here. I'm thinking right here, right where this sort of natural gin is. And we'll get it planted to this tree. just gonna prune off that one really long branch here. I'm thinking this one maybe about here. We don't want it exactly in line with the other one. Maybe more towards the back here. Yeah, I think more here. We don't want our spacing the same. Maybe right about there. I'll come around front and have a look at that. Looks a little symmetrical to me. They're kind of spaced too equally around the main trunk. I think we'll move the middle one in closer to the main tree. I like the inside tree, the distance between the main tree and the one closer to the center. But the other one I think could go closer to the main tree also. Like almost parallel with it. Maybe it's a little too close now. A little too close. I think that'll do. We can always change the position next time we repot. So I'm going to fill it in with soil now before I change my mind. Forest plantings are something that kind of evolves over time. You initially plant the trees, and then as you look at them and study them over the years, things change, the trees change. You may want to reposition the trees. So you can do that later on. And so the main thing here is just get these trees vertical, which I think they are. And then we'll give it a water just to keep them in place. And we'll place a few stones around those to keep them in place while we're working on the other trees. So the next tree is one that's been in a pot for a year now. So we're going to comb it out and check out the root system on it. And typically in forests you would train your trees for many years in individual pots and then combine them when you've got the trees all kind of sorted out. So you can see we've got a good root system that's developed in 1 year. When I first planted this tree, it was very similar to the first two we did with almost no roots. So it's a good time to pot this tree into the forest. So we'll just do a little root pruning. Get rid of these really long ones. Get our root ball flat on the bottom. We're not going to do a whole lot of root pruning, but we're going to do some. And give it a raking. And I think that's about all we'll do for now. We don't want to be too aggressive with the roots at this stage. Now this tree has a slight bend in the trunk here, so we want to position it so that bend disappears when we plant it. So we did this position or this position to give it that tall, straight look. And we'll just prune away this one dead branch here. And we'll give it a planting. So we got to determine where this tree is going to go. I am going to prune off some of this top growth. It's just too long. Pretty brown on the tips there too. There's a shoot there we can prune back to. And we've got to get a position for this tree back at the front. I think we'll get this one towards the front here. And we'll prune this tree down in size as it gains vigor. I'm just going to get my root rake. Give the roots a rake before we put in the soil. That looks good. Yeah, I think that'll do. Okay, so I've got all the trees I'm going to use in the forest bare rooted, and the roots range from pretty good on some trees to where was that one? Some of them have almost no roots. Most of them have a fairly good root system on them. So we'll plant them. Those that don't survive won't survive. So let's get to it. Let's start planting all these little trees. So we're going to start with some of our larger trees, and we're going to do some root pruning. Just to get towards a flat root ball. We're going to have to take, I don't have my pruner, here they are. We're going to have to take some of these bigger ones off the bottom. Like that. And now, because this is the first time these trees are going in a pot, the roots aren't very good yet. It's something that you have to refine over the years. So that's you know, probably as close as we'll get it for now. And we got to pick a front for the tree. It's got quite a curvy trunk. It's not going to be a straight tree. I'm thinking maybe about here is the front. So we want to plant it somewhere. We're going to put all our little tiny trees in the back, our bigger ones towards the front. We don't really want any of these medium-sized trees to be in front of our large tree. So I'm thinking maybe somewhere about here is about the best we can do. And we'll prune the height of it down. We can't really do a whole lot with the roots. We've just kind of arranged them the best we can. I will break them out a little bit. Not a lot to work with here. Okay, that'll have to do. So we'll put some soil around that. And these trees, we're not too worried about the final planting height at the moment. The main thing is to get them in roughly positioned and you know, start growing our root system. I think I have to move it back a little. It looks too in line with the main tree. Definitely move it back a little. And generally when you have a curve on the trunk, you want them to curve outwards from the forest planting. If you have them curved inwards, it looks kind of strange, because as I said before, trees on the edge of the forest reach out for the light. So that one's roughly positioned. Now let's get some more of our trees. Again, it's, you know, fairly bizarre looking, but these roots, oh my goodness. This is the roots you start out with. You don't start out with a flat radial root ball on a lot of trees, but you work towards it. I think I'm going to remove this upper root here. It's just too high out of our root plane. A couple of dead roots here we can remove. That's about all we can do with that. So we're going to place that where are we going to place it? thinking in the corner here. Maybe not quite in the corner. Maybe about like that, I think. I'm going to try that. Yeah, I think that works in the corner there. It's kind of angling away from you, then it goes straight up. I think that's okay. Yeah. Okay, let's pick out our next tree. Again, it's going to lean outward from the planting. So I'm thinking maybe about here. Yeah, I think that works okay. Little one in the corner there. We're still kind of got a basic triangular shape to the forest. Okay, let's keep going. So we're getting into some of the smaller trees now, which will be our back trees. In a forest, it's nice to have all your smaller trees in the back because it gives perspective. The bigger trees are in the front, the smaller trees are in the back, and it gives your planting some scale. I'm going to have to cut this one root off here. A lot of roots, but it's just too deep, the root ball. And again, we'll plant it, I think, back maybe right here. It'll look quite good. From the front it looks good too. Okay, next tree. So we've got a lot of little trees now to put in the back of the forest planting. So we'll do root work we can. Pruning off our roots growing straight down. Not a whole lot of root left, but it's a small tree. It probably doesn't need a whole lot yet. And I'm going to put that right in here. Try to. It's getting pretty crowded in here. There. Next one's a very twisty tree. Again, we're going to do what root work we can to it, which isn't a lot on this one. Very, yeah, we do what we can. I think we'll just plant it, see what happens. Can't do much with the roots on it, it's just bizarre. That's definitely our twisty tree. And we've got another small one. Again, we're going to do what root work we can to it. Which is about that. And I think we're going to put this one in kind of behind the main tree. We've got to start filling in this area with some back trees. We'll try it there. So the next trees we're going to start filling in behind the main tree more. These are the ones that were planted in pots, so you can see they have a much better root system. But we're still going to do some work to the roots. And that'll go in back here. Our next tree, quite a twisty one. Get rid of that root. Some of these down roots. That's about all we can do. And I'm going to put this one in back here. About there, I think. And our final tree, we've got some roots that are a little out of the root plane. We can prune that one off. shorten a few of these and plant it. So I'm thinking of putting this one in here. Like so. Let's see how it's looking from the front. Well, it's looking kind of jumbled. However, we may have to do some rearranging eventually. Okay, let's keep planting. Here's my next trees. Not great root systems on them, but see what we can do. Let's see how it's looking. Well, yeah, doesn't look too bad. With some trimming and pruning, some of the trees as they grow will look good, I think. The only trees I have left are some really bizarre, twisty ones with almost no root system. We'll try planting them, see what happens. You can see, yeah, kind of bizarre trees. I like this tree, but it's just got no roots. However, we'll try planting it. Yeah, I think we'll put it in kind of here. And this one, we'll try severing the main root here. I don't know if it has a place in this forest or not. Kind of thinking not. Belongs on a cliff or something, this one. I don't think we'll put this one in the forest. It's just not suited. So I think we're pretty well set with our tree positions for now. Let me just come back and have a look at it all. Yeah, I think it has enough kind of visual interest for now. There'll be a lot of work that'll come on this forest in the future. Okay, let's fill in the soil around all the trees and get it watered. And we'll try and get our soil leveled out. We'll eventually build it. We'll be, doing more landscaping. But the main thing for now is just to get the trees to survive. Kind of get an idea of the forest look when we start pruning it. Okay, so we'll give our forest a watering. We'll run several watering cans through this, make sure the soil's all nice and evenly damp. Okay, so we've got the forest watered. The next step, we're going to remove any growth that we're just not going to use. The top of this tree can be pruned back here. There's a branch here we can prune off. Some of these trees, as they gain strength, they'll get a lot of back budding. This tree has got a long branch over here. Just prune some of this foliage back a bit. I think that'll be it for pruning for now. So that's about it for today. We've got our basic forest planted. Aftercare for these trees. Cedars, when you repot them, should be kept in the shade for a while to give them a chance to recover. I'm going to put it on the floor of the greenhouse to keep it humid. The temperature is fairly low at the floor level there, and it'll keep it out of the wind until the roots get established. We'll keep updates on the forest as time goes on, see what trees live, see which ones have died, and then our next step will be to do a little landscaping, more pruning, and slowly refine the forest over the years. So we'll leave by, I'll do a pan of the landscape, and that'll be it for today. So Nigel Saunders for KW Bonsai. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.